Alright, here we go. Getting ready for some music. I am Mega Man. I'm blue and cyan. Hey, welcome back to Pete Plays. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I'm going to try a brief series called Philosophy Fridays that has been requested by some viewers. I am a philosophy professor in my real life, and some friends of mine were asking, hey, you should talk about some more philosophy things, kind of like you did in a couple videos ago, a couple weeks ago. So I thought, hey, let's try that out, and I'll play some games that I haven't really, that I've kind of wanted to play, but I thought, maybe not work super well for the series, or would be, like, really difficult, and I just spent a lot of time sort of grinding around. But, yeah, today, we're gonna play Mega Man 3, and, also, I want to talk about metaphysics as it's related in this book, A Thing of This World, History of Continental Anti-Realism. This is gonna sound like it's gonna be super boring, and it might be. Who knows? I don't want to fight first. I don't know anything about these guys. Snake Man. I don't know. I kind of know his song, sort of. So metaphysics is a branch of philosophy that, oh yeah, is a special. Whoa, hey, that is rude. What the deuce? Oh no, it's a particular branch of philosophy that deals with the nature of reality. So if you're wanting to ask what is the way the world is like, whoa, that was a nice drop, which seems like a bit of an awkward question. You would, oh boy. Oh, this is rough. You would consult a metaphysician. And a metaphysician could tell you all kinds of different things depending on what their particular philosophical commitments are, right? They might... Oh, that was 4 that time. Woo! There are different ways to do metaphysics. Can he shoot at me? Oh, he can't shoot at me while I'm behind him. There are different ways to do metaphysics. And different metaphysicians have different philosophical commitments about what they think the nature of reality is like. And it kind of depends on, like, what your tradition is, like, where you were raised. Metaphysics is influenced by your culture. Like, whoa! That dude was wild! Like, in the West, our metaphysics are really, sort of science-based, would probably be the easiest way of putting that. Okay. Like, we tend to think about the way the world is, the way that science gives itself to us, right? But there's all kinds of different ways to do it. Like, Plato did metaphysics, Augustine had a metaphysics, really any, really any philosopher has what we would say a metaphysics. And what we mean is, like, what are their, gosh, I keep running into that dumb thing. What are their specific commitments about what they think the way the world is like? Oh man. Because there's just all different kinds of ways of doing it, and the thing is, like, you don't figure out really, like, your metaphysics exactly. I mean, you kind of do, but you don't just go like, oh, let me figure out what my metaphysics will be, and then I'll start doing them, right? You're like always already. What is this? Oh, great. Okay. Wow, that didn't help me at all. Not gonna deal with this dude again. you're always already doing metaphysics, but you can like subscribe. You can subscribe to a different way of doing it. You can say like, I'm going to base my behaviors and actions and values on these particular commitments. Because when it comes down to it, like the wacky thing about metaphysics is like, there's kind of a point at which you can't really figure it out the way you could like, oh, I'm going to do an experiment, right? Like metaphysics is not physics in the sense that like, oh, I'll just do like a Galileo gravity experiment and figure out what gravity is like, right? Oh, you have so many hits. Oh goodness, can I make that jump? So, you're gonna hear me use the phrase metaphysical commitments. And by that I mean like, what are the things that just sort of like, oh boy. What are the things that, I use the phrase give themselves to me because I'm secretly rather Heideggerian in my metaphysics. Like, what is the way that the world is like? How does the world be? Heidegger calls this the Seinsfrage, the question of being, or the question of what being is like. Does it? What the heck? I don't love that happened. What? Oh, that's cheating! Come on! Ah, well. Time to go and shoot this little dude. No! Jump! Okay. But the question is, like, what is being like? How does it work? What is it? What is it like? That's probably the best, or as Heidegger sometimes it's translated, how does it stand with being? So yeah, that's the question. I sort of wax and wane on that a little bit extensively, but basically what I mean is, when I say that something bees, like that is, right, when I use, oh boy, when I use the verb to be, and then jump directly down a pit, what am I talking about? Like, these things. Yeah. Okay. I'm sort of getting more into this game than I thought I would. Jump over it. Okay. So there's that. So what I want to do is I want to go over, in this episode, a few metaphysical commitments that someone could have. And we're going to call this realism. And this is as laid out in this book that I showed you by Lee Braver. And what he's trying to do is sort of, hey, people who have called themselves realists in the sort of modern era. Oh, I'm dead. The modern era of philosophy. And that's by modern, I don't mean, let's try a new guy. Early modern, we usually mean like 1700s. Like, by modern, I mean in the sort of contemporary sense. Like, nowadays, like in the last 200 years, that is, oh boy. Oh, he's upset. Okay, let's just keep him out of the way. Oh. Yeah, too many things on the screen. So yeah, in the last 200 years, there's this thing that we can call realism. This way. Oh, hey, look what I got. There's this thing that we can call realism, and it, according to Braver, it can be identified by sort of it can adjust. Sort of 6 main characteristics. And I want to go over those briefly because I think this is the way that most of us tend to think. So the first one, we're gonna call R1, or Braver's gonna call R1. Duck. Oh, okay, there's no ducking in this game. Independence, which is the idea that, which is the idea that, like, there are objects that are out there. Oh, I gotta slide. Let's see if I can remember how to slide. There we go. There are objects that are out there, like, outside of my mind. Ugh. Hang on. Oh! I got spiked! There are objects that are out there, right? So everything that I apprehend, is, like, independent of my mind. And if I were going to say something about, the real world, I would have to be sure not to fall off a cliff. I would have to be sure that I'm talking about it as it exists outside of my mind, right? So this is why a realist can say things like, well, it was just a dream, or, jeez, okay. It was just a dream. It's not real. I hallucinated. I imagined it. Because what we mean by that is something along the lines of, it happened in your brain, but not out there. So I saw someone in the mirror, and then I turned around and there was no one there. They're not independent. Their existence was not independent. What is going on here? This is bad. This is bad. This is bad. This is bad. Their existence was not independent of my mind. Oh no! Oh man, that is so tough. Got it. Okay. So the second one is, like, kind of related, and it's what is called correspondence. So a correspondence could mean, like, oh yeah, we're writing a letter back and forth, but the idea there is that there's, like, two sides to things, and the idea of correspondence is, hey, when there's something out there in the real world, and I know it, and I apprehend it, I think about it, there is something in my mind that corresponds to what is out there. And that's how I know things. I make what's in my mind match what's out there. Oh, this is short. Surely this can't be the boss. It is! Oh, I'm gonna lose real bad. Ah, crud. Ah, I don't think I have any more lives left. Do I? I died because I'm not good at this game. Let's go back to Needleman. Yeah, so, how do I know things? Well, there's stuff out there, and then I make it happen also in my brain. I make the thing in my brain match the stuff that's out there. That's correspondence. There is, the next one is called uniqueness. I thought I missed it. What a big hitbox, man. Oh boy. Oh boy. Jump! Okay. Whew. Nope, I hit it. Uniqueness is the idea that, yes! Uniqueness is the idea that, like, when, what is here? That there's only one way the world could be, right? So, if there are two people, and they have a disagreement about what the world is actually doing, one of them is wrong. Or both of them are wrong. They can't both be right if they're, like, if they have mutually exclusive descriptions of the nature of the world. So if one person says, it is the case that X is true, and another person, did I have that little life? Man, those things take off so much health. And someone else describes it in a way that's like, no, I think that X is not true, right? Those two things are mutually exclusive. One of them has to be wrong. You can't have sort of mutually exclusive coexisting objects, right? The sort of modern way of saying this would be, oh, there's no like truth for you and then somebody else's truth. It's like, well, that's your truth, right? No, that would be a silly thing to a realist metaphysician in the sense of like, if you are making a description of reality. Now, if I say something like, oh, you know, true love conquers all or something like that, only the most sort of literal metaphysicians would really sort of push you on that. I mean, they might have a position on whether or not true love conquers all. God, I thought I got over it. There we go. But yeah, when it comes to like, okay, oh, I forgot about that one. You know, does the Earth... I can't figure out how to control how far I slide. That's why there's a problem. It's like, does the Earth orbit the Sun, or does the Sun orbit the Earth? Why did I... Okay, I should be okay now. No! Does the Earth orbit the Sun, or does the Sun orbit the Earth? One of those is wrong. Just objectively, right? There's no like conspiracy theory or whatever. It's like, it has to be. Can I shoot that way? Ah. So that's uniqueness. Like, there is a way that the world is. And if you say that the way that the world is isn't the way the world is, you're not clever, you're just wrong. That's what that's what a realist would say. 4, bivalence. This is this one's, let's see if I can. Haha! I got through it without, oh man. No, I didn't even touch it. There we go. Bivalence is the idea that, like, when it comes to mutual exclusivity, it's similar to the uniqueness idea. It's like, there's no such thing as breaking the rule of non-contradiction. You cannot have both X and not X at the same time. This is what allows, like, symbolic logic to work. This is what allows you to do logic puzzles and solve crime drama novels before you finish reading them. It's like, well, one thing cannot be the case and also not the case, right? I didn't do it. Didn't get anything from that. There we go. At least I got a couple lives left before I try to take on this baddie. Yeah. Rule of non-contradiction, like, right? Like, it's like, hey, you can't be... Oh my goodness. This is terrible! You can't be, like, A and not A at the same time. What? I thought I had more lives! I want to beat this so bad! Ugh! So, the fifth tenet is what's called passive knower. And this is, this can be best described as like, hey, when you're thinking about stuff, you don't do anything in the thinking, right? It sort of happens to you, right? When I'm looking at the Nintendo screen, I didn't do anything to make the Nintendo happen, right? Oh, wow, there's supposed to be extra life there. I didn't do anything to make it happen. My mind didn't participate in that. Aha! My mind didn't participate in doing that together. Because, as we saw previously, the Nintendo is out there. It's out there in the world. And if I want to have proper knowledge of it, I have to make my sort of mind match. There we go. I have to make my mind match what's out there. And the way that I do that is by just apprehending it sort of passively. Like I didn't do anything to get it. I didn't do anything to produce it, right? Wait for it, go. Nice. Oh, I'm the best! No, hey! That feels like a bit of cheating. I'm not gonna survive this. Jump! His spikes came out. Yeah, so it's like stuff is out there, my mind is here, and the stuff just goes and like lands on my brain. I didn't do anything to get it. I went too fast. I also went too fast. I didn't do anything to get it. It's because my brain was passive. My mind was a passive agent in the sort of transaction of knowledge happening there. And the sixth one is called realism of the subject. This basically means I want to read this bit from Kant. Metaphysics alone can be brought to such completion and fixity as to require no further change or be capable of any augmentation by new discoveries. This basically means that like the subject has realism kind of foisted upon it, and no amount of anything that the subject is doing will like make that not happening. The subject can't undo realism for itself. And that's realism, right? This is the way that we think when we think like scientifically. He jumped way higher than I was anticipating. Oh! Patrick! Mega Man is hard! Yeah, so it's like, hey, if like every scientific discovery depends on these things. It's like, hey, do you want there to like be stuff out in space? Well, you have to like just... There we go. Oh, no! This is not going well. I'm not gonna do it! I didn't even get halfway down. Oh my goodness. Ugh. Anyway. That's realism. I don't know how good of a job I did explaining that, but that's kind of the way that we tend to think. Scientifically, it's like, oh, there's stuff out there, I gotta go find it, and then when it happens to me, that's what it is. And I can't, like, argue with it, right? If the Earth goes around the sun, no amount of me thinking really hard about what if the sun went around the Earth will make that the case. It just can't be. And it can't be both at the same time. It's like, well, the Earth goes around the sun for you, right? That's not how that works either. That's what we would call sort of scientific thinking. And it's based in realism. Or these ideas of realism that allow those claims to be made in a true way, or in a way that seems to work. So yeah, there you go. That's your basic intro to realist metaphysics. Leave me some feedback on whether or not this was enjoyable or made sense or was awful. Because if it was awful, then, you know, I won't do this anymore. It might also have been awful because of my incredibly poor performance at Mega Man 3, which I'm finding to be significantly more difficult than Mega Man 2, or maybe I'm just not in a Mega Man mode right now. Or maybe I'm just worse when I try to talk philosophy when I play video games. But anyway, let me know if you guys like Philosophy Friday. I'll do a few more and then kind of wait for some feedback. And if it's lousy, then I'll quit doing it. If it's great, then maybe I'll keep doing it. Who knows? But I'm going to be trying out some different things on the channel this year while I'm playing games. So hope you guys love it, and I'll see you next time on PETEPLAYS. Bye, guys.